In the year of our Lord 1177, a desert wind whispered of war. Across the sun-bleached sands of the Sinai marched Saladin, a name that scraped like steel on bone on the tongues of men. 26,000 strong, his Ayyubid army, a tapestry of shimmering steel and billowing banners, crawled towards the Holy Land. His eyes, sharp as desert hawks, held the glint of conquest. Baldwin IV, the leper king, a ghost of a man upon a gilded throne, watched from the battlements of Jerusalem. His flesh, ravaged by an unseen enemy, mirrored the threat that loomed on the horizon. With a force as meager as the remaining hairs on his head, 350 knights, their armor dented and scarred, and a rabble of foot soldiers, he faced oblivion. Reynald of Chatillon, the Lion of the North, a man whose thirst for blood rivaled only his appetite for war. "We meet them head on," he roared, his voice echoing through the halls. But Baldwin, wiser than his firebrand general, knew the folly of such a charge. Saladin's army was a ravenous wolf, theirs a limping lamb. Instead, they retreated to the safety of Ascalon, the fortress a frail hope against an overwhelming tide. Yet, hope flickered. From Gaza, 84 Knights Templar, their white cloaks a stark contrast against the blood-soaked sands, rode to join the fray. Master Odo de Saint-Amand, their leader, a man whose faith was as tempered as his blade, led them into the heart of the coming storm. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the desert sky in shades of crimson and gold, the two armies stood poised. On one side, a force as vast as the desert itself, fueled by conquest and fervor. On the other, a flicker of defiance, a band of men for whom Jerusalem was not just a city, but a sacred oath. The stage was set. The desert wind held its breath. The clash of steel, the screams of the dying, and the echoes of a desperate prayer all awaited the dawn. Dawn bled across the sky, painting the dunes in hues of rose and ochre. The stillness of the night shattered as Saladin's army, a living tapestry of steel and sand, surged forward. The earth trembled under their collective weight as they roared their battle cry, a sound that seemed to claw at the very heavens. Baldwin, his gaunt face etched with a stoic resolve, watched from the battlements of Ascalon. His weathered hand gripped the hilt of his sword, a gesture more symbolic than practical. He would not be leading the charge today, his body a mere vessel for a will that burned bright. Reynald, the Lion of the North, stood beside him, a whirlwind of impatience and defiance. From within the city, the meager Christian force poured out, a tide of steel against the Saracen onslaught. Baldwin's knights, veterans hardened by countless battles, bore the brunt of the attack. Their lances, tipped with cold steel, met the scimitars of their enemies in a clash of thunder. The air grew thick with the stench of sweat, blood, and burnt flesh. Amidst the chaos, the white cloaks of the Knights Templar were a beacon of unwavering faith. Master Odo, a warrior monk whose face bore the scars of countless holy wars, led the charge with a righteous fury. His blade, a silver serpent in the morning sun, danced a deadly ballet. The battle raged throughout the day. The sun, a pitiless observer, climbed higher in the sky, turning the battlefield into a furnace. Men fell like wheat before the scythe, their cries swallowed by the roar of the battle. Baldwin, perched atop the battlements, watched the scene unfold with a grim fascination. Disease had robbed him of his strength, but not his mind. He saw the desperation in his soldiers' eyes, the mounting tide of the enemy, and the dwindling hope. Yet something stirred within him, a flicker of defiance that refused to be extinguished. He was the leper king, a cursed soul, but a king nonetheless. And as long as he drew breath, Jerusalem would not fall. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the bloodied sands, a new development emerged on the horizon. A plume of dust in the distance, growing closer with each passing moment, heralded the arrival of a fresh contingent. Who were they? Reinforcements for the beleaguered Christians, or another wave of Saladin's relentless army? The answer hung heavy in the air, a question mark scrawled in the blood-soaked sands. The fate of Jerusalem and the future of the Holy Land would be decided in the twilight. The dust cloud churned closer, revealing a disheveled band of riders, their banners bearing the insignia of Baldwin of Ibelin, a revered Frankish nobleman known for his cunning and battlefield prowess. The crowd on the Ascalon battlements erupted in cheers, a surge of hope washing over the weary defenders. Baldwin, his face weathered by years of campaigns, rode up to Baldwin. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice hoarse, "we heard your call. We knew Jerusalem needed its sword." Baldwin, a faint smile playing on his lips, replied, "Welcome, Baldwin. We are glad to have you at our side, but I fear even your reinforcements may not be enough." "We may be outnumbered," Baldwin stated, his voice firm, "but we are not outmatched. We fight for our homes, our families, our faith. We fight for Jerusalem." A collective roar of approval rose from the remaining Christian soldiers, their morale momentarily rekindled. Baldwin turned to his weary men, their eyes burning with renewed determination. "Knights of Jerusalem, today we fight not only for victory, but for survival itself. Show them the metal of Frankish steel." With a thunderous battle cry, Baldwin led his troops into the fray, their arrival serving as a much-needed lifeline for the Christians. The Knights Templar, inspired by the fresh influx of warriors, renewed their assault, their swords flashing like silver lightning. The battle raged on, the setting sun casting long shadows on the bloodied battlefield. The air resonated with the clash of steel, the screams of the dying, and the prayers of the faithful. Victory and defeat hung in the balance, the fate of Jerusalem resting on the shoulders of these weary warriors. As the last rays of the sun dipped below the horizon, leaving the world bathed in an eerie twilight, a change began to occur. The relentless momentum of Saladin's army started to falter. Exhaustion, coupled with the fierce resistance of the reinvigorated Christian forces, started to take its toll. Suddenly, a commotion erupted near the center of the battlefield. A small group of riders, their banners emblazoned with a golden lion, broke through the enemy ranks. At their head rode Reynold of Chatillon, his face contorted with a warrior's fury. He had spotted Saladin, the architect of their current predicament amidst the chaos. With a defiant roar, Reynold charged towards Saladin, aiming to end the battle with a single decisive blow. The fate of the entire conflict, it seemed, hinged on this lone confrontation. Whether Reynold's recklessness would pave the way for a Christian victory or a devastating defeat remained to be seen. The tide began to turn. The Christians, emboldened, fought with renewed fervor. Reynold, fueled by desperation and vengeance, pressed the attack. Master Odo, seizing an opening, wounded Saladin. The once invincible Sultan faltered, and uncertainty spread through his ranks. Saladin, realizing defeat, roared a final command. With a parting glance at his fallen foe, he retreated into the desert night, his army dissolving behind him. Exhaustion settled upon the battlefield, the air thick with the cost of victory. The Christians, battered but unbroken, stood amidst the fallen, a brotherhood forged in fire and blood. They knew the fight for Jerusalem was far from over, but for this night, they had earned their respite. The ghosts of Montgisard, etched in the blood-soaked sand, would forever echo as a testament to their unwavering courage against overwhelming odds.